Hello there, it's midnight and you're watching Nightline with me, Anita. The top stories. Fruitful visit to US, says Datuk Seri Anwar. And MACC likely to seek Razi Jidin's statement over book printing project. We begin with this headlining story. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said his visit to the United States has successfully highlighted Malaysia's stance on global issues and raised the country's profile on the international stage. He also said the visit provided an opportunity for him to share the country's policies and aspirations related to international relations and woo global investors.
Tapi sepanjang hari sebelumnya, dan semalam, kita dapat adakan memanfaatkan waktu kita di New York menemui dengan kepala negara. Ini penting kerana daripada kunjungan ke negara masing-masing, kita gunakan kesempatan untuk bincang kepentingan dua hala.
Anwar said this at a press conference at the end of his 4-day visit to New York, where he attended the 78th United Nations General Assembly. He also said the visit provided an opportunity for Malaysia to highlight international issues such as the Ukraine-Russia conflict, Islamophobia, climate change and problems in Myanmar. While in New York, he noted that he had the opportunity to hold bilateral meetings with the leaders of Turkey, Iraq, Thailand and Sri Lanka. At the same time, Anwar said efforts to attract more investment and trade to Malaysia continue to bear fruit through meetings with several US giant companies. He said as more global companies expand into Malaysia or increase their existing investments, authorities must cut down on red tape and strive to improve the ease of doing business. The Prime Minister held meetings and interacted with 15 US leading companies listed in the Fortune 500, including Airbnb, Amazon, Amazon Web Services, Boeing, ConocoPhillips and Kimberly-Clark at the Harvard Club. Anwar said that American multinational corporations and the world's largest aerospace company, Boeing, has informed him of its intention to expand its investment in Malaysia to manufacture aeroplane wings and its parts for all types of aircraft.
Ini satu keputusan yang sangat besar bagi kita. Jadi maknanya kalau wings itu sekarang ni kalau dengan dia punya keputusan hampir keseluruhannya itu disiap dengan parts itu di Malaysia.
At the Invest Malaysia New York event, attended by equity and bond capital market investors, with assets under management reaching $40 trillion, Anwar gave the government's commitment to ensure a conducive investment environment. Former Education Minister Datuk Razi Jidin could possibly be called in by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, to facilitate investigations into the approval of an alleged 80 million ringgit project for the printing of JCOF books for preschools through direct negotiation. MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki, however, did not divulge when this might happen, as investigations are still ongoing. As of now, it's understood that no assets have been frozen over the investigations, even though 2 people have already been arrested. On Saturday, MACC Deputy Chief Commissioner for Operations, Datuk Seri Ahmad Kushari Yahya, had confirmed the arrests, which he said included the political secretary of a former senior minister. The former political secretary and the director of a company had been detained at 11 p.m. on Friday, with MACC obtaining a 4-day remand order to detain them the following day at the Putrajaya Magistrates Court. A wholesale license will be made available to restaurant operators to enable them to buy imported white rice at a wholesale price of RM3.20 per kilogram from Padi Beras Nasional Berhad, Bernas. The decision was made by Agriculture and Food Security Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Sabu as a short-term measure to overcome the shortage of local white rice, with consumers buying less of imported white rice due to the increased price. The minister, through his press secretary Adisham Noor, said that restaurant operator associations would need to submit an application to the ministry to obtain the wholesale license. He said previously the price of imported white rice was around RM2.80 to RM3.20 per kilogram and did not differ much from the price of local white rice. However, he said entrepreneurs started switching to local rice following the price adjustment by Bernas to RM3,200 a tonne, equivalent to RM3.20 per kilogram, leading to a sudden surge in demand. On September 15th, the ministry held an engagement session with various associations, including restaurant operators, mama operators and tom yum shops, among others. Among the issues discussed were the best ways to help every association member get imported goods at wholesale prices. The Malaysian Meteorological Department, Met Malaysia, has issued an alert-level continuous rain warning for Perlis and several areas in Kedah until Monday. In a statement, the department said the affected areas in Kedah include Langkawi, Kubang Pasu, Kota Star, Pokok Sena, Padang Terap, Yan and Pendang. In a separate statement, Met Malaysia said that strong westerly winds are expected to blow and persist in the northern area of Peninsular Malaysia until Monday. It is also said that the situation has the potential to produce thunderstorms with heavy rain and strong winds over an extended period in the northern states of Peninsular Malaysia, including the coastal areas of these states. In other news, the Education Ministry is prepared for the eventuality of floods in the country, especially when the monsoon season is fast approaching. Its Minister Fadlina Siddiq said the ministry is in constant contact with the National Disaster Management Agency, or NADMA, and have been working together in facing the possibility of any disaster, including floods.
Jawatankuasa Penyelaras juga sudah pun berbincang dan juga pusat pantauan banjir di KPM juga telah bersedia dan kerjasama kita dengan NADMA ini adalah antara persediaan terbesar yang biasa kita buat, maknanya menuju ke musim tengkujuh dan persiapan lain berkaitan dengan bencana banjir khususnya.
Fadlina was speaking to reporters after the opening of the multidimensional centre at Sekolah Kebangsaan Sungai Aceh in Pulau Pinang on Sunday. She said the ministry had finalised the mechanism for the flood preparations, including for schools that might be used as relief centres. Meanwhile, Fadlina, who is Nibong Tebal MP, said the ministry had provided guidelines to be observed by teachers when meting out punishment to their students.
Kita ada garis panduan. Yang kita nak sekarang ini adalah patuhi garis panduan tersebut, ya. Jadi kita sentiasa akan pertegaskan semula dan kita mahu semua pihak memastikan bahawa garis panduan ini dipatuhi.
She said this when asked about a proposal by a non-governmental organisation, NGO, for the presence of a witness when meting out punishments to students. This followed an incident last Friday where a teacher at a school in Klang, Selangor was reported to have slapped a student on the face after claiming the student was not being truthful.
Lelaki yang disyaki perogol bersiri, Lee Chow Meng.
Siapa yang ada ciri-ciri bekas kekasih dia, itulah mangsa dia. Kekasih dia membuat keputusan untuk tinggalkan dia.
Jadi dia marah sangat sebab tu dia nak balas dendam tu.
Pihak polis telah menutup kes yang dibuka.
Fail Mahkamah Rabu 9 malam di TV3 dan stream secara HD ditonton.
Nightline continues. In the run-up to the Pelangai State Assembly by-election, economic, sports and housing development for the younger generation have been identified as top priorities by Barisan Nasional BN candidate Dato' Amiza Abu Adam. Amiza emphasised the need to enhance existing efforts to better serve the youth and the community at large.
Saya punya visi ialah memang asasnya kita dipanggil legasi Pelangai tetap dengan menetapkan iaitu kita dah mendapat ketetapan meneruskan agenda dan juga perancangan yang berhormat Allahyarham. Namun penambah nilai. Satu, elemen tambah nilai apa yang dah ada. Keduanya yang saya cakap adalah sektor anak muda ni kita kena fokuskan.
Understanding the pivotal role of youth in societal progress, Amiza emphasised the need to channel resources and efforts towards sectors that directly impact the younger generation. Leveraging his local heritage, the BN candidate also pledged to address Pelangai's distinct issues and fostering progress, especially within Felda and traditional villages. After over 24 hours of the candidate nomination process on Saturday, Amiza has travelled through almost the entire Pelangai State Assembly area. He also met with various segments of society, including the youth, who comprise a significant portion of the voters in the constituency. As Budget Day draws nearer, the demand for tax reform becomes increasingly urgent. This reform is seen as imperative due to the looming budget deficit, which stands at 5% of the gross domestic product, GDP, coupled with a persistently high level of public debt, currently at 63% of GDP. Now the question is, when would be the ideal time for the government to reinstate the goods and services tax, GST? Hakim Azman reports.
When GST replaced sales and service tax SST in 2015, some found the transition challenging due to perceived increases in the cost of living. This dissatisfaction ultimately led to its abolition in 2018. Economists from the Institute of Strategic and International Studies (ISIS), Calvin Cheng, said, however, GST is a prudent strategy to generate much-needed revenue for the government as it broadens the tax base by applying a consumption tax to a wide range of goods and services. Even if GST is applied to 50% of consumption, excluding essential food items and necessities, at a rate of 6%, it would generate approximately 45 billion ringgit annually. This alone would significantly reduce the budget deficit by half. Despite this, he believes that the government should wait until economic recovery is robust enough to sustain lower consumption levels consequent to the reintroduction of GST. However, he stressed that the rate should be established at a range between 3.5% and 4%. This is to strike a balance between stimulating economic growth and avoiding the heavy burden on consumers, particularly those in the lower income bracket.
My idea and my view is to have it be revenue neutral. So what that means is that it should be a rate that does not increase the amount of tax collection compared to the current SST regime. So that means probably substantially lower than 6%. My sort of back of the envelope estimate is probably around 3.5 to 4%. So in that way, there's no additional taxation burden on the whole economy. And I think we can start from there and slowly scale up.
Tax expert Ng Su Lin, who shared the same view, said a GST should not be the sole mechanism, adding that the government should implement it with well-structured plans to manage the people's purchasing power effectively. He added that the government could also start with a lower rate to offset the loss of revenue from the SST.
If deemed necessary, maybe the government could start at a lower rate first and progressively increase over time when the economy and the purchasing power of the rakyat improves. These stunts have been taken in some other countries that have introduced GST as well, where they first introduce GST at a lower rate and slowly, gradually increases over time.
She also said that if the GST is not implemented, the current taxation model needs to be improved, such as widening the tax base and putting more certainty in SST treatment to stimulate the country's economic growth. The decision on when and how to reintroduce GST should be based on a thorough evaluation of economic conditions, revenue needs, and the impact on the people. The government should also convince the public that there would be no leakages in the public finances through corruption and mismanagement. Hakim Azman, TV3.
Next on Nightline, dozens killed at illegal Benin fuel depot. News from the foreign front right after this breather. Don't go away. least 35 people were killed in Benin near Nigeria's border when a contraband fuel depot exploded into flames, sending up a black cloud of smoke into the sky and leaving dozens of charred bodies at the site. Local residents said the blaze erupted at a warehouse for smuggled fuel in the town of Semepoji, where cars, motorbikes and tricycle taxis came to stock up on fuel. According to an initial assessment, the fire resulted in 35 deaths, including one child. Prosecutor Abdul Bakir Adambonga said the fire is believed to have started during the unloading of bags of gasoline. He also said that more than a dozen others were left seriously injured and were being treated in hospital. Tropical storm Ophelia came ashore on Saturday along the Atlantic coast, where it doused the region with torrential downpours and unrelenting winds that caused flooding and widespread power outages. The National Weather Service said after making landfall near Emerald Isle, North Carolina, Ophelia was moving inland on a northerly path as it dumped heavy downpours and whipped strong winds in its wake. It added that some spots could see up to 25 centimetres of rain and winds of more than 80 kilometres per hour that combined were producing storm surge flooding in parts of North Carolina. One of the hardest hit communities was Washington, North Carolina, where floodwaters reached homes and partly submerged vehicles in parts of the town. Nearly 8 million people across the mid-Atlantic, from New York to South Carolina, were under tropical storm, storm surge and flooding warnings as of midday on Saturday. Israeli forces killed 2 Palestinians, including a member from the Hamas group, during a raid on a refugee camp in the occupied West Bank early Sunday. Officials said the Israeli forces raided the Nur Shams camp near the city of Tulkarm, and a gun battle ensued with Palestinian fighters. Following the incident, 2 Palestinians were killed, while the army confirmed that a soldier had been moderately injured by gunshot fragments. The Israeli military, meanwhile, said it conducted counter-terrorism activity in the camp, dismantled an operational command center and uncovered dozens of explosive devices. Violence in the West Bank has raged for more than a year, with stepped-up Israeli military raids, increased settler assaults on Palestinian villages, and a spate of Palestinian attacks on Israelis. back with sports news now. The 2023 Malaysia Cup. 2 matches of the second quarter-final leg took place on Sunday night. KL City claimed a spot in the semi-finals despite recording a 1-1 draw over Sri Pahang FC, while Terengganu defeated Selangor FC with a 3-1 aggregate win. At the Darul Makmur Stadium, Romel Morales provided the opener for KL City after 29 minutes into the game. In the second half, Argentine Stefano Brundo levelled the score for Pahang through a spot kick, but hopes for a comeback diminished as KL City emerged victorious with a 2-1 aggregate win. The City boys will next play against Terengganu FC. On to the 2022 Hangzhou Asian Games. There were no podium finishes for Malaysia on the official first day of competition. Wushu exponent Sydney Chin came closest to delivering a medal, but the 24-year-old could only finish 4th in the combined Tai Chi Kwan Tai Chi Jian event. Earlier, the national men's hockey players sent out an early warning to their rivals in their quest for the gold medal by hammering Thailand 9-0 in their opening Group B match. Malaysia had scored 3 goals by the halftime break, but they went on a spree after a 10-minute rest to score another 6. They will play Oman on Tuesday and are expected to have another goal feast. Meanwhile, national wushu exponent Wong Weng-son, who's predicted to contribute the first medal for the national contingent, finished second to last in the men's Changquan final. The 31-year-old from Negeri Sembilan collected a total of 9,000 points in 13th position out of a total of 14 contestants. Shooters Alia Husna Budruddin and Nur Suryani Muhammad Taibi recorded good scores but still failed to reach the 10-meter air rifle finals. Alia finished 39th out of 62 shooters with 619.9 points, her best achievement for an international tournament, while Suryani was ranked 44th with 617.8 points. China's Huang Yuting won the gold with a new games record of 252.7, while compatriot Han Jiayu was second and India's Ramita won the bronze. Moving on to cycling now. Astana Kazakhstan's Gleb Syritsa denied Afid declined back-to-back wins as he pipped the latter to emerge victorious in the second stage of Petronas Le Tour de Langkawi LTDL on Sunday. Syritsa hit the line first in 4 hours, 15 minutes and 14 seconds. Decline of Tudor Pro Cycling and Enrico Zanoncello of Team Green Project Bardiani, CSF Zafian, settled for second and third on the day. The second stage started in Kuala Terengganu and ended in Kota Baru, covering a total distance of 186.2 kilometres. Monday's 183.1 kilometre third stage from Jeli to Baling will feature 4 climbs at Puncak Titiwangsa, Jeli and Sri Banding and Sungai Rui. Terengganu Polygon cycling teams Nur Amirul Fakhruddin Marzuki claimed the polka dot jersey as King of the Mountain, while Rujai Online Insurance's Tesbaya Batsai Khan remains in charge of the Asian Riders classification. More to come after this break. 9 men arrested after attempting to illegally explore REE. Don't go away. Nightline. Police have arrested 9 men who were attempting to explore rare earth elements, REE, in compartment 35, Rimba Teloi Forest Reserve in Sik, Kedah. Kedah Police Chief Datuk Fisor Saleh said the suspects aged between their 30s and 60s were detained on September 14th. The suspects consisted of 4 local individuals, 4 Indonesians and 1 Chinese national. He added all the suspects failed to provide any permission letter to explore REE resources in the area, nor to enter the Rimba Teloi Forest Reserve. The 5 foreign nationals entered the country using work permits. However, they were found to have misused the documents as the work permits were not intended for working in Kedah. All those detained have been charged in the Baling Court under Section 47(1) of the National Forestry Act 1984 for entering the forest reserve without a permit. They are also facing charges under the Immigration Act 1959-63 for various immigration offences. 2 men involved in a brawl that went viral during the Desaru International Bike Week on Saturday have been arrested by police. Johor Police Chief Datuk Kamarul Zaman Mamat said that the suspects aged 30 and 50 years old were arrested on Sunday morning in Kota Tinggi and Johor Bahru. According to Kamarul Zaman, the fight occurred due to a misunderstanding between 2 groups of bikers, one from the United States and a local group. He added that there were 2 separate incidents, and during the first fight that broke out, police were able to step in and manage to prevent it from escalating further. However, the suspects later triggered another fight at about 9 p.m. the same day, where several injuries were reported. Police are still on the lookout for other suspects who were involved in the fight and are still investigating the total number of people involved. The case is being investigated under Section 148 of the Penal Code for rioting. The Customs Department in Johor has busted a syndicate believed to be using residential homes in the East Coast states to store illicit cigarettes before selling them to their target market. Customs Deputy Director General for Enforcement and Compliance, Datuk Sazali Muhammad, said that more than 2 million sticks of clove and white cigarettes were uncovered when the department raided 3 housing units in Jerantut Pahang and Marang Terengganu on September 12th. The contraband items were worth around 625,000 ringgit and estimated unpaid duty amounting to 2.58 million ringgit. Based on the various brands of cigarettes that were stashed, authorities believe that they were brought in from Indonesia, Thailand and Vietnam. He added that investigations were ongoing under Section 135(1)(d) of the Customs Act, including identifying the home owners of the units used for the illegal activities. In a separate seizure, Sazali said the department also crippled an attempt to smuggle illicit cigarettes from Malaysia into Singapore via the causeway. Authorities found a shipment of 830,000 sticks of white cigarettes on a lorry at the Bangunan Sultan Iskandar Customs Immigration and Quarantine Complex checkpoint on September 6th. The items, worth 166,000 ringgit, had unpaid duty estimated at 564,000 ringgit. The 39-year-old lorry driver had since been arrested and charged at the Johor Bahru Magistrates Court on September 19th, where he pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 6 months in jail. At a Cuban athlete who was set to break the world record for the most soccer touches in 1 hour. The former soccer player stood for 1 hour, putting the ball in the air 12,237 times with different parts of his body, outperforming the current holder of the Guinness World Record in the male category since 2017. With that, I'm Anita. Thank you for watching and be well, Malaysia.